Whenever you're ready, as long as it's in the next 30 seconds.
The person that I'm refuting against is Les Noches. His claim is that abstinence-only sex education is less effective at reducing pregnancy rates among teenagers. His secondary claim is that based on his personal story of being the product of teenage pregnancy, he uses that claim to prove why education does not work because he was born. And then on the second claim, he states that states with comprehensive sex education courses statistically have less teen pregnancies per capita than states without sex education. His third claim is that U.S. teenage pregnancies and birth rates are high compared to other developed countries due to a key difference in what is being taught as sex education. My claim is that abstinence-only sex education has little impact on the rates of teen pregnancies. On the first claim, I refute that his personal story was a nice example because he did include what was, he connected to the audience with his personal story, but he should have included facts or statistics, not just a generalization of only his mom. For example, he could have maybe said other classmates of hers were also pregnant, maybe the number of pregnancies in the district of the school as well. And also the evidence is unreliable because there's no way that I can legitimately see if the source is true or not. I can't really interview his mom and ask her because that's just weird. And then on my, to refute his secondary claim, he brings in the comparison between the two states, Arkansas and New Jersey, and that he brings in a lot of statistics for the audience to kind of infer and assume that the sex education really does make a difference between these two states, but all he does is show us the results. He doesn't really have any reasons to connect his evidence to his claim. He also said in his introduction that he was going to talk about policies. He did not talk about specific policies, he only talked about the qualities of the policies. For example, if he included from the New York Times how Obama cuts fundings for all abstinence sex-only education in his new federal budget for 2017 up to $10 million, $10 million per year for the grant, I feel that his argument would have been much more stronger instead of leaving kind of the gaps for the audience to fill in for themselves. And then for response to the last claim is that he says that sex is the norm for other well-developed countries and how in Germany they legalize prostitution. The information about prostitution being legalized in Germany is really irrelevant because he's setting up an argument that compares prostitutions along with school children, which I don't think is really the smartest thing to do because it's prostitution and it's just a different factor. And then he also made a hasty generalization and or heavy exaggeration about America being the only well-developed countries with a high birth rate. There is way more well-developed countries who do have birth rates as well. For example, in the article written in Korea Times about teen mothers forced out of school, the number of unmarried teenage mothers has soared some 5,000 to 6,000 a year, and that's coming from the National Human Rights Commission Chairman Hyun Byung-chul. So America, they do have the largest number of people pregnant, but that's because our population is huge compared to other countries. If we look at the proportionates, Korea also has a sharp similarity to our pregnancy rates as well. In conclusion, abstinence only sex education has little impact on the rates of teen pregnancies. People who know about sex still get pregnant because, according to every women's health center, condoms don't always work. 15 women out of 100 get pregnant, and also a majority of teens use the pull-out method or the withdrawal method, which I hope you guys all know because it's like this involves withdrawing the penis and ejaculating out of the vagina, and that's only 75% workable. And these people, these amount of people already know about the sex education, yet they risk pregnancy for their pleasures. Thank you.
All right, structurally everything is easy to follow. On the first point, where you talk about his personal story, your argument really seems to be an evaluation, not a refutation. The idea that here's a better way to have proven your point, I don't think that that really is what's called for in this situation. I've used this example 1,000 times if I've used it once. You know, the defense attorney doesn't very well turn to the prosecutor and said, well, if only you'd used that other evidence against my client, he'd be much more likely to be guilty. You don't want to make that argument. That doesn't really advance your particular point. I think you've got a better argument to say, you know, we don't know how generalizable this experience is, that it may not be very typical, and we don't even know if his parents had access to sex education, much less abstinence-only education. We don't know what their situation is, and so we don't really know how applicable it is to the argument that's being presented here. The second point, I could not tell what argument you were trying to make in this comparison between Arkansas and New Jersey. You say, well, we're looking at results, not processes, and I guess the argument here is that New Jersey has the comprehensive and Arkansas has the absence only, but it seems to me like you're making some suggestion that there's other differences between those places that might account for the difference in the results, or that the attribution of the results to those types of programs is not particularly reliable. But that's not really what you say, and I'm not, I'm having to interpret that argument, and it's not very clear. Why Obama's cut of abstinence-only programs is relevant is also not clear. Again, it sounds like you're trying to build an argument for the advocate here instead of making an argument that says that they failed to present proof of their particular point. On the European argument, I appreciated and I thought it was a very reasonable challenge to suggest that the analogy between prostitution and American school children is perhaps not really one that works well in making this argument. I thought that was a reasonable challenge. You mentioned other countries and that they have high out-of-wedlock pregnancies as well, or birth rates as well. The one example that you make reference to is Korea, but I didn't really hear any statistic on that, and we don't really know what kind of sex education is going on in Korea. I think the argument that you present at the end is an interesting point, and I think there's a valid criticism made here that the most likely influence of people on pregnancy is their unwillingness to follow their own common sense. Look, they know that there's a risk of pregnancy here, that's why they use condoms, but condoms fail 15% of the time. They know there's a risk of pregnancy, which is why they're using the withdrawal method, which is really ineffective as a way of presenting pregnancy. So the notion that people are ignorant on this issue is a myth. They know kids know what causes pregnancy. It's not like they are ignorant about this issue. The problem is that they are not doing anything about it, and there are all kinds of reasons why they don't do things about it. Maybe it's easier availability of the product. Maybe there's more opportunity. I'm sorry to do a stereotype. I don't know what's going on. Maybe there's a lot more to do in New Jersey than there is in Arkansas. And in Arkansas, all there is to do on the weekends is have sex. I don't know. I don't know. Somebody's going to listen to this, and all those people in Arkansas are going to accuse me of being sexist or racist, anti-whatever. Sorry, you people in Arkansas, if you ever catch this. I didn't mean to impugn your
They get mad
sex
if you
lives.
pronounce their state